The moment she appeared, the air smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet, like caramel-coated fire. 1 second, the room was normal. The next, a flash of iridescent light revealed her standing in the center, arms raised, robes glimmering like liquid metal. She blinked, scanning her surroundings with wide, unblinking eyes, as if cataloging every human detail for a report. In her grasp were glowing jars, feathers that seemed to hum, and a small holographic book titled, Mating Earthlings Step by Step. Greetings, chosen male, she intoned, bowing so low her forehead nearly touched the floor. I am here to initiate the sacred ritual of union. I choked on my coffee. Ritual? I asked. You mean, like a date? Her expression twisted, incomprehension painted across features that were impossibly symmetrical. Date? No. Ceremony of mating, as instructed by my ancestral manuals. All humans comply? I stared at her robes, the glowing jars, and the holographic feathers circling her like tiny planets. Not exactly. Usually, we just talk, and maybe you know. I waved vaguely at the couch, realizing my explanations were failing spectacularly. Her gaze fell on the shower gel bottle sitting innocently on the counter. She gasped, lifting it like it was a sacred relic. This is the elixir of binding. Essential for the ritual of pleasure and possession. She sniffed it delicately. Ah, potent. Your species, almost worthy. I coughed. That's just, soap. Soap? Her eyes narrowed. I have studied Earth rituals extensively. Manuals clearly state, liquids of lather may facilitate intimate contact. This must be it. She held it out to me with a solemnity usually reserved for religious artifacts. I had no choice but to accept the sacred gel like a fool. Right. Gel. Sacred. Very important. Her movements were precise, almost militaristic, as she began what she called the dance of initiation. She leapt, twirled, and spun, robes trailing like comet tails. Observe closely, male of Earth. This is the first step. Participation is mandatory. I tried to follow. 1 step, 2 steps, and I collided with a chair, sending it skidding across the floor. I think I need a little instruction, I panted. Her look was fatal. Instruction is irrelevant. Coordination comes from the spirit. You must adapt to my rhythm or fail your destiny. She spun again, scattering holographic feathers, which I instinctively tried to catch, only to have one stick to my forehead. Aha! She exclaimed, clearly proud. You are learning, weak human. Adult humor laced her critique. Your body is unrefined yet promising. Such potential for submission. I coughed, realizing her compliments were somehow the most awkwardly sexual thing I'd ever heard. Submission? I stammered. I'm just trying not to break anything. She tilted her head, inspecting me like a zoologist examining an exotic specimen. Your species, delicate. Must be prepared for the intensity of the ceremonial bond. Do you understand the gravity of this union? I nodded weakly, trying to ignore the way her robe shimmered in ways that made the air itself feel charged. Sure, totally intense. Her next step involved kneeling and circling me, jars in hand, humming in a language that vibrated the room. I couldn't tell if it was a mating chant or a warning. I tried to respond politely, but my voice cracked mid-sentence. You must recite the vows of surrender, she said, or we cannot proceed. What? Oh, right, vows. Yeah, sure. Her eyes gleamed with delight. Excellent. You comply. Already, promising. She twirled again, knocking a cup off the counter. I cursed quietly, realizing this was not a drill. Even in these first moments, the humor was unavoidable. Her ceremonial rituals, airborne twirls, mystical jars, solemn recitations, clashed spectacularly with my human instincts, fear, confusion, and the urgent need to find clothes that didn't make me look like a fool. Yet somehow, amid the chaos, a spark ignited. A spark of absurdity, desire, and that unmistakable awkward thrill of a first encounter, with an alien who clearly had no clue how humans actually functioned. By the time she finished the first round of her ritual, I was breathless, sticky with sweat, and oddly aroused, staring at her as she surveyed me with pride. "You will learn," she whispered. "You will adapt. And you will be mine." I groaned. "Yeah. I think I'm already adapting." She clutched her holographic book like a sacred scroll and stepped closer, scanning my every move. "Now we begin the instruction of flesh and desire," she declared. Her eyes gleamed as she pointed to a diagram that looked suspiciously like a yoga manual crossed with an anatomy textbook. "Observe and imitate Earth male. Precision is key." I swallowed hard. "Right, imitate." She began with a flourish, demonstrating what she called the posture of possession. Her legs twisted in impossible angles, arms reaching skyward, torso arched in ways I didn't think a body could do without breaking. "Copy me," she commanded. I attempted the pose, immediately toppling sideways and knocking over a small lamp. "Weak," she said, circling me like a predator evaluating prey. "You lack coordination, but your potential, promising. Now lubrication ritual." I glanced at the shower gel still in her hands. "We do this for real?" Her lips curved into a mischievous smile. "Not for real, Earthling. For sacred preparation. Essential for bonding." She poured a dollop into her hand and offered it with a ceremonial bow. I hesitated, but she frowned sharply, which was terrifying in its intensity. "Do you refuse the ritual? Do you deny our future?" "No. No, I'll handle the gel." I lathered my hands awkwardly, hoping I didn't look completely ridiculous. She clapped delightedly. "Excellent. You learn quickly when motivated." Her gadgets hummed suddenly, reacting to the gel and our proximity. A small orb floated between us, projecting holographic lines around my body, highlighting all the wrong angles. "Ah," she said, "your anatomy is flawed. Adjustments necessary for optimal connection." I grimaced. "Adjustments, right. I'm working on it." She laughed, a high-pitched trill that sent vibrations through the room. "Your effort pleases me. Now, the rhythm of union." She twirled, and the floating orbs followed her like a synchronized dance troupe. "Step with me, Earth male. Failure is unacceptable." I tried, really tried, but every step I took sent orbs spinning wildly, casting embarrassing holographic illusions of my body flailing, sometimes multiplied, sometimes contorted. She pointed and laughed. "Ah, your species is entertaining. Weak, but entertaining." Her hands traced imaginary circles in the air, and a faint hum filled the room. "Next, the tongue of bonding," she instructed. I froze. "You, I stammered. "You mean like talking? Not speaking. Expression through taste, scent, and touch. Observe my demonstration." She leaned close, tapping my chest with one delicate finger. "Absorb the signals. Mimic immediately." I blinked. "Signals?" "Yes. Signals. Your failure to immediately respond is noted. Humans, so slow to adapt. But we will persevere." She hummed again, this time causing the orbs to vibrate against my skin, sending goosebumps through my entire body. The unintended effect was highly stimulating. My face heated, and I tried desperately to look professional, to no avail. She narrowed her eyes, noticing my reaction, and whispered, "Your body betrays you. Delicious weakness. Continue learning, and perhaps you will survive the ceremony." I swallowed hard. "Survive, right? I'm learning." By the time she guided me toward the chamber of negotiation, also known as my bedroom, the chaos had escalated. Orbs floated madly, holograms flickered, and her robes shimmered seductively with every movement. She began assigning positions from her manual, waving her hands dramatically as if conducting an orchestra of desire. "Your species requires extensive training," she said, placing a hand on my shoulder. "But do not despair. I will shape you into a worthy participant in our sacred union." I groaned, realizing that, training, was euphemistic for an extended, humiliating, highly sexual, and absurdly complicated lesson in human alien mating. And yet, despite my embarrassment, the room, the chaos, the pheromone-tinged air, I couldn't deny the thrill. Her gaze softened just slightly, eyes glittering with innocent yet deliberate lust. Soon you will understand the joy of the ritual. And soon, Earth Male, you will be mine. I rubbed my temples, bracing myself. Yeah. I think I already understand more than I wanted to. By now, the room smelled of pheromones, soap, and something faintly metallic, which I hoped wasn't part of the ritual. She stood before me, robes shimmering, eyes gleaming with mischievous intent. Your coordination is improving, she said, circling me like a predator admiring its prey. Yet your weakness remains charming. I wiped sweat from my brow. Weakness, huh? I thought that was part of the attraction. Her laugh was a high trill that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. Attraction is irrelevant. You must endure the lessons. Physical, mental, and pleasurable. Do you understand? I nodded weakly. Yes, endure, pleasurable, got it. She extended her hands, and suddenly a small device floated between us, projecting holographic outlines of two bodies entwined. Observe and replicate, she commanded. Positions are essential. Flaws in execution are punishable. I swallowed. Punishable? Do not test me, human, she said, one eyebrow raised. Your species is so fragile. I may have to adjust methods directly. The orb she carried vibrated, glowing with an intensity that made my skin tingle in all the wrong ways. My face flushed, and I tried to appear stoic, but her eyes flicked over me, noting every involuntary reaction. Ah, delicious weakness, she whispered. You betray yourself easily. Such honesty is entertaining. She knelt, tracing circles in the air, and suddenly the holographic projections expanded, displaying multiple exaggerated versions of my body in ridiculous, compromising positions. I groaned, realizing she was enjoying the spectacle far too much. Seriously, do you have to make me look like this? Educational purposes, she said, patting my shoulder. Also, amusing. Her tone was playful, but the words dripped with erotic mischief. I could feel my pulse racing, partly from embarrassment, partly from anticipation. Next, she said, waving her hand, and a soft hum filled the air. Bonding requires touch, pressure, and alignment. Observe carefully. She reached out, placing her fingers lightly on my chest. Responses indicate readiness. Weak humans struggle here, yet you are improving. I cleared my throat. Improving, right? I'm doing my best. She tilted her head, giving me a long, assessing stare. Your best is mediocre. But I like your perseverance. Continue, and perhaps you will survive the full ritual. Her robes shimmered as she moved closer, almost brushing my skin, and I felt a jolt of awareness I couldn't ignore. Every flick of her fingers, every hum of her gadgets, sent involuntary shivers through me. I realized uncomfortably that her teaching methods were equal parts erotic, humiliating, and intoxicating. No, she said, pointing toward the bed with a dramatic flourish. The chamber of negotiation awaits. Positions, alignment, and ritualistic gestures will be tested. Do not fail me. I stumbled toward it, half expecting the orbs to attack me for incompetence, but she only chuckled. You are fragile, Earth Male, yet adaptable. This pleases me. Soon, very soon, you will understand the ecstasy of full compliance. I groaned, brushing my hands over my face. Full compliance, got it. Definitely, understanding that. Her fingers traced invisible patterns in the air, and the floating orbs flared, bathing us in light. She leaned in, eyes glinting with a mix of innocence and deliberate lust. Do you feel it? She whispered. The thrill, the confusion, the delicious tension? Yes, definitely, delicious tension. I muttered, my voice betraying both awe and embarrassment. Good, she said, stepping back with satisfaction. You are learning. Soon you will merge the rituals of Earth and my species. Soon, Earth Male, you will be ready for me fully. I sighed, realizing that despite every chaotic misstep, flubbed gesture, and bizarre holographic punishment, I was utterly captivated, entirely flustered, and dangerously aware that my life, and my libido, had just become her training ground. By the time we reached the apex of her instruction, the room had transformed into a chaotic altar of pheromones, floating orbs, and shimmering robes. She stood tall, eyes gleaming, and waved her hands, signaling the start of the final phase. Now, Earth Male, we merge the rituals. Full compliance required. Your performance will determine your fate. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the fluttering in my chest and elsewhere. Full compliance, got it. Definitely, ready. She tilted her head, observing me like a scientist preparing to unleash a volatile experiment. Do not falter. Humans are fragile. Yet I sense potential. Delicious, awkward, fumbling potential. I groaned internally. Awkward and fumbling, my specialties. Her laughter rang like bells, high and teasing. Good. Embrace your weakness. It will only heighten the ritual. Now, initiate the sequence of union. Her orbs circled faster, glowing brightly, projecting holographic symbols and body outlines. She moved with fluid precision, tracing gestures that were equal parts dance and seduction. I attempted to mirror her, knocking into a chair and swiping one of the floating orbs, which buzzed against my skin with an electric thrill. Ah! She exclaimed, delighted. Such vigor! Such amusing clumsiness! Humans are so entertaining when trying to mate. Continue. I staggered, trying to follow her movements, feeling every accidental brush of her hands, every hum of the orbs, as an odd mix of shock and excitement. Right, following, sort of, okay. Her eyes softened, just slightly, but the mischief never left them. You are learning, Earth Male. Soon, the ritual will complete. You will take me as yours, and I will submit fully in my ceremonial style. The next moments were a blur. She guided my hands, adjusted my posture, and corrected every misstep with a combination of flirtatious teasing and brutal honesty. You must focus, she said, tracing circles along my chest. Weak humans lose control too quickly. But you are improving. I groaned, realizing that improving meant being pushed to limits that were equal parts erotic, humiliating, and absurd. Every vibration of the orbs, every hum of her robes, every syllable from her mouth, meant to instruct, sent shivers down my spine and made me painfully aware of my reactions. Now, the final gesture, she whispered, stepping close enough that I could feel her warmth and the soft, teasing brush of her robes against me. Merge earth and alien rituals fully. Accept me, claim me, and prove your mastery. I swallowed hard, muscles tense, mind spinning, and after fumbling through another chaotic series of gestures, adjusting to holographic projections, dodging a rogue orb, and barely keeping my balance, finally followed her lead. The room erupted in flashing lights, vibrating orbs, and ritualistic hums. Her hands rested lightly on my shoulders, and she leaned in, murmuring in that alien tone that made my ears ring and my pulse race. Yes. Earth Male, this is perfect. I gasped, collapsing into the mess of robes, orbs, and scattered holographic symbols. Perfect, right. I think got you. She laughed, a breathless trill of amusement and satisfaction. You are mine, Earth Male. Entirely, utterly, mine. And yet I am yours in our own ceremonial compromise. I leaned back, sweat-soaked, disheveled yet laughing. Ceremonial compromise, yeah, I can work with that. We collapsed into a tangled heap of laughter, sweat, and pheromone-soaked robes. The orbs floated lazily above us, humming softly, as if acknowledging the completion of the ritual. She rested her head against my chest, breathing a mixture of alien warmth and contentment. Next lesson, she whispered with a mischievous grin, will be even more challenging. I groaned, half dreading and half looking forward to it. Bring it on. I think I've officially survived the first phase of alien mating school. Her laughter echoed in the room, full of delight and playful teasing, and I realized, in all the chaos, embarrassment, and erotic absurdity, that somehow, through all the rituals, missteps, and gadget-induced chaos, she was mine, and I was hers. Both utterly confused, entirely aroused, and irreversibly tangled in the hilarious madness of interspecies desire.